Hi friends, welcome back to Abridged by Outpal. In this video, I'm going to be giving some pros and cons to both Goodreads and Storygraph, and then giving you a little tour of Storygraph at the end of the video because that is the one that I use daily. So clearly, I have a preference between the two. Before I go into these two platforms, I first want to address Fable because I do feel like it's a very popular platform right now. However, when I downloaded it and tried to use it, it just felt really messy and I couldn't search for books. Like I couldn't find books on it, which felt like not ideal for a book app. Alright, let's start with the pros of Goodreads. First of all, it is very established and there are a ton of reviews on Goodreads. If it wasn't the very first book reviewing platform online, it is by far the largest and the most well known. Because of that, I do believe that reviews on Goodreads help out authors the most when they are publishing new books. There are a ton of curated lists on Goodreads. It's a feature that I actually really do enjoy. Lists such as just like genre lists, but then also more curated, like if you like this book, try out these ones. It's better for searching by genre because Storygraph focuses on moods. It's easier to find and follow friends on Goodreads. And lastly, it integrates into Kindles. However, I know that Kobo can keep track of books that you're reading from the library. I don't know if Kindles can do the same thing for books that you get through Libby. The cons to Goodreads, the main one for a lot of people is that it is owned by Amazon, and a lot of people don't really like to support Amazon and their products. It has the most awful UI I think I've ever really seen. It just feels so chaotic and messy, and the tabs really don't make a lot of sense. And so I feel like it's super easy to get lost in the weeds of Goodreads. It is so mainstream that I feel like you can't find anything new. If you go and you look for top fantasy books and series, it's gonna give you the top fantasies of all time. You'll be going through those lists and be like, yeah, okay, I've heard of this, I've read this. And usually the books that you haven't read on those lists, there's a reason why you haven't already picked them up because you've probably heard of them. There's no way to pause books on Goodreads, which makes me a little bit sad because it feels so aggressive to put a book onto the did not finish list, when in reality I just need a little time away from it. And there's ads on Goodreads, and that is just awful. It just really is super disruptive, and they're not even necessarily ads for other books. Sometimes you get ads for just the most random thing, and I really do hate that. And so all in all, Goodreads just really has a general sense of chaos that I do not enjoy when I'm trying to find books or figure out how people felt about those books. Next, for Storygraph. The pros for Storygraph, first of all, it's in the name. There are graphs. It's really fun to see your reading habits broken up in the ways that they have them broken up. And it also, I feel like it really helped me get a better sense of who I am as a reader and what kind of books I like. It's got a way cleaner UI to it. It is very simple. The colors are actually quite nice. It's I have mine on dark mode. I don't know if there's a light mode, but it's a gray and then a tealish blue to it, and everything's very rounded and it makes sense and it's organized and it's properly spaced. It's better for searching for books by mood, such as if you're looking for something lighthearted or humorous or challenging and dark, adventurous. You're also way less likely to feel lost. You're not going to get lost in the weeds as much as you are with Goodreads. However, what I will say is that you might have the opposite problem where you feel like you're very stuck in one location and you're not necessarily coming across anything new. Sometimes. For me, it hasn't been that much of an issue, but it has happened occasionally. It connects to Kobo, and I know for a fact that it tracks your library books. If you get them through Overdrive, it will automatically update your progress on those. You can pause books on Storygraph, which is great for me because I've been making my way through a couple of fan fictions for the last couple of years that are huge, and so I kind of just take nibbles at them every once in a while. And lastly, and for me this was honestly the biggest reason to move over to Storygraph, is that you can rate books, you can give them stars by quarters. So you don't have to just give it 4 stars. Maybe Goodreads does. half stars. I don't entirely remember, but you can give a book like 4.75 stars. And to me, it's just a little extra level of detail that is meaningful for me, and saying like, this book was better than this book, instead of having to lump them all into the same category. I really love Storygraph, but there are some cons to it. It is less used, and so there are fewer reviews, although more and more it feels like a lot of those are either being imported over by users, or people are just preferring to use Storygraph over Goodreads. The moods that are the primary way that you find books on Storygraph feel a little bit ambiguous, and it can help in a way, but I still feel like genre is what people are going to look for first. And you can search by genre still, it's just a little bit further down on the list, and the moods haven't always been the most helpful for me. It is harder to find and follow your friends. In fact, if someone finds you on Storygraph and they follow you, you won't know about it. So it has to be very intentional, the two of you connecting, saying like, I'm following you, this is my handle, and vice versa. The recs aren't super verified, I think because of the lack of reviews. So I've gotten some weird recommendations from Storygraph before, although these days my TBR is mostly built off of suggestions, so I'm definitely less worried about it now than I was back then. I think that what they do, if I had to just like guess, is that they also add in some sort of like recency bias in their suggestion algorithm, so that you are getting books that are newer instead of just like Lord of the Rings. But it does also mean that you're getting kind of weird suggestions that aren't actually great. And lastly, the scores on Storygraph are a little bit lower. If I had to guess, like if I was putting on my little statistician hat, I would guess that because you can go into a finer level of detail with the ratings, it means that people aren't rounding up. I feel like human behavior is to be a little bit more optimistic, and so you don't want to feel mean when you're giving a book review, and so you're more likely to round up. Whereas when you have that level of detail and you are actually able to differentiate and give it something that feels more accurate to you, you don't necessarily need to do as much rounding up. Clearly, a scale of 1 to 5 on quarters is not the most precise still, but I do find that the scores tend to be a little bit lower, and that is my hypothesis why. Okay, next I'm going to give you guys a little tour of Storygraph because I really like this app. When you first open up Storygraph, this is your homepage, and it's showing you your current reads, up to 3 of them, but you can also click view all and see all of the books you have ongoing, as well as your paused books. So you can see I don't do super great with nonfiction, but I'm trying my best. You have your to read, your recommendations, popular this week, and giveaways. One thing that I like that they do is that they are always kind of shuffling which book they are showing on your to read pile, which I feel like is nice because then it kind of reminds you of the variety of books that you have going on. However, this is my favorite tab of the app, and that is the graphs of Storygraph. You can slice this by all time or year and month, as well as your read books, to read pile, owned books, all of those. Oh, that's something that I really like about Storygraph too, is that you can mark books that you have owned by ISBN. Here is just a little preview of some of the graphs that they have. Like I said, they do mostly by mood. I think if you open up their page on a web browser, what it says is life is too short to read a book you're not in the mood for. So it is definitely something that, and the graphs I think is a big part of what differentiates Storygraph from other tracking apps. You got your pace, your page number, which are very different. Don't tell me that they're the same. They're incredibly different. Oh, I've read a lot more short books than I thought I did this year. Fiction versus nonfiction. Like I said, clearly I'm not doing great. Your genres, your format. You've got your most read authors, and then your number of books and pages by month. This one also, when you slice this by the month, will show you the number of pages that you've read every day. And this is what I use to keep track of making sure that I have read at least 1 page every single day. So far in 2026, my graph has not hit the 0 line, which I'm very proud of. And lastly, you've got your star ratings for all of your books in whatever time period you have selected. However, I have to admit, there's a little bit of an axis crime going on here. You know what? That's too much. I'm not going to go into that. But there is an axis crime going on there on that x-axis. And just to show you guys, I'll pick July since that was the last full month. This is what it looks like when you change it to month instead of just year. Pretty much the same, but obviously on a smaller scale. Middle grade, format. Aw, look at that, 50/50. Star ratings, and then pages in July. And as you can see, that line, it might have been super low. We might have been at 13 one day, but it never hit 0. Next, you have your challenges, and this is where you can set goals for yourself of how many pages or books you want to read in a year, as well as their community challenges that you can join. I haven't done any of them, so I'm not there. And let's ignore how horribly behind I am on my goal right now. I'm actually really worried that I'm not going to meet it, but we'll have to see. Sometimes I feel like I have a week where I just tear through like 6 books in a row, so there's a chance of me getting caught up, but it's not looking great. Next, we have your community tab, and this is where you are going to see all of your friends and what they are currently reading. Just for privacy's sake, I'm not going to like scroll through this, but it is really fun to see where your friends are at, and this is also where their reviews will come through once they've finished a book if they review them. I have one friend who never reviews her books, and it makes me mad. I'm looking at you right now. You should review those. And then lastly, you have your profile. Here you have a shelf that you can put your favorites on. You can see that I've done that. It also has a little summary of what kind of books that you like. And this is, I think, the most helpful for me because it has informed me a lot on what my reading preferences actually are versus what I thought they were. You got your currently reading, recently read, to read pile, all of those. Yeah, this is just kind of everything summed up together. And this is, I think, what people would usually see if they went to your profile. And that is Storygraph. Like I said, some of my favorite features are the fact that you can do 0.25 ratings. I love the graphs and the way that it helps you understand what kind of reader you actually are. I really enjoy the community tab. For some reason, I opened up Goodreads just to kind of poke around and to make sure it was as awful as I remember it being. And for some reason, I just like couldn't find any of my friends and what they were reading on there. I mean, I did eventually, but it was like in 2 sub tabs, which is, I think, really silly. You can also these days scan by barcode if you tap this up here. Let me see if there's anything else that I've forgotten. Oh, they do wrap up graphics, so for the whole year and also monthly, which I think is super fun. And this makes it really, really easy for you to share what you have had going on. So here is my July wrap up, all in one cute little graphic. Highest rated reads, and I stand by those. Those are all really good. And I'm gonna keep saying this every single week, but thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully this was helpful for you guys to understand the differences between the two and why you should absolutely be using Storygraph over Goodreads. I will see you guys next time. Bye. I think all of those are pretty self-explanatory, so I won't go into them super much. I won't go into them at all, actually. Not that I have to defend myself here, but I am just going to a little bit. The reason why audio is so big is that, like, for the most part, I do listen and read at the same time. I find it helps me go a lot faster while also keeping up my reading retention. But if I am, like, if there's a book that I'm reading and listening to, but at any given point, I'm using just one of the formats, I'm usually listening to the audiobook more than I'm just reading. So that's why I choose audio as my main format for these. Holy streak, well done.